back to the Trusted Visions Weekly Podcast. I am super excited. We have the entire team together. Our newest member, Shaun Rose, joined us about 3 weeks ago. So glad you're here, Shaun. We couldn't be, I know I speak for the team. We couldn't be happier to have you as part of the Trusted Visions team with the experience you bring. I know, and I know Deb and David, you guys have done these for a while with me, and you're probably going to laugh at this, but I had to throw a kink into the whole thing because we had a discussion on our team meeting this week of, do we really want to start a monthly series before the beginning of the month? And we decided we're not. So last week I said we're going to roll into another new topic for the month today, but I figured with the team together, we were going to do a one-off podcast covering a topic that I've got a lot of questions about from clients, and I'm sure you have, is third-party recruiting firms and working with third-party recruiting firms versus, you know, the automated side of finding a new broker dealer. And there's no right or wrong answer, but I wanted to take a step back and cover this topic and really talk about Trusted Visions and the foundation of what I built Trusted Visions on, and you guys were in agreement when you joined of the foundation of, we wanted to be different than a lot of third-party recruiting firms out there in our approach, number one, and number two, on the broker dealers that we partner with. We're not a firm that goes out there and signs an agreement with every broker dealer. In fact, we've turned down broker dealers, not because they're bad firms, but we want to understand the long-term vision of the broker dealers we partner with, number one. Number two, we also wanted to make sure that those broker dealers we're partnered with are firms that will do regular routine business with. It always drove me crazy with other firms where that broker dealer would have 500 third-party recruiting firm relationships, but yet 5 or 10 of them would send us business. And it's like, why do we have those relationships? We really don't know those people. And so in addition to that, the foundation was, we are extremely hands-on in our process with our advisors and OSJs and enterprises that we work with. I'm sure a lot of the broker-dealer partners could attest to this, where we are on every single meeting. I've traveled to home office visits with advisors on our dime, not expecting the broker-dealer to pay us, but I've traveled to those home office visits. And not because, we've talked about this before, not because I'm trying to micromanage the process, or we're trying to micromanage the process, but more so, this is an extremely important decision for advisors from a business perspective, but also it's an emotional decision. And it's a roller coaster going about it on your own of the relationships you've built with those broker dealers. I personally worked with a large $1 billion plus firm last year. They had been with the same broker dealer for over 20 years. And there was many times I was on the phone till 11 o'clock at night. I was talking to him on weekends. You have to guide them through that emotional roller coaster. And as a matter of fact, I just spoke to him a couple of days ago, and I said, hey, without giving me any accolades, would you have made this decision to make a broker-dealer change had I not been working with you? And he said, I could tell you with certainty, absolutely 100% no, because I couldn't have dealt with the sleepless nights of, making this decision. And since then, I'm happy to report, they moved over 80% of their assets, which was $1.6 billion in less than 30 days. And since they've affiliated with the new broker dealer, they've grown by over 30%. So, I just wanted to lay out for this topic of automation versus, firms like Trusted Visions, the foundation. And with that, I'm going to hand it off to you, David. And I'm going to start with you for the particular reason of you bring a great comparison. You've dealt a lot with the robo-advisor side of the business back in your day, when you and I had hair. That, I think you could put that into context of, and again, I don't think there's a right or wrong answer, but you could put it into context of the personalized service that Trusted Visions provides versus, hey, you're doing the due diligence on your own, or you're going through an automated service. So with that, I'm going to hand it off to you, David.
I appreciate it, Jeremy. And you're absolutely right. I love technology. I'm a technology guy. I love it, embrace it. I love the challenges that come along with it. But we've all been there as advisors. When we look back, 5, 7, 10 years ago, when they started introducing robo advisors, it was a huge shakeup in our industry. There was a lot of firms that were pumping a tremendous amount of technology into that system to be able to automate the financial service sector of it. And a lot of advisors, especially in the independent world, were very scared of what that was going to represent. They had all these clients that they spent time with, built personal relationships, and gone through the complexities of what it takes to basically build a comprehensive financial plan for a client. And that's impossible to do in a lot of cases when it comes to the robo side of the world. So it was a big shakeup. People were concerned about it. But did people grasp it and take it and utilize it? Absolutely. But there was a lot of challenges that went along with it. And our financial advisors out there, the independent financial advisors and the ones that are holistically working with their clients on a day in and day out basis, it really didn't affect their business. When I worked with a lot of very large financial institutions, that was a big part of what they did because it took a very small segment of business that wasn't being served and utilized it with technology. So it's a great way to basically take the technology, add benefit to it, but there's really no personalization that goes along with it. As you said a little bit earlier, this is a complex industry that we work in, and it's a complex of emotions, of technology, of numbers, financials, everything you can think about, of uprooting your entire livelihood, your advisor's livelihood to make a move. And that's almost darn near impossible to do by simply filling out a profile form and filtering it down like you would if you were trying to find a car. 20 years ago, nobody would have ever thought about buying a car online. Now it's become very popular.
Yep.
But that's a little bit different than when it comes to our world. A little bit more complexity than trying to figure out what color of a car is going to match your personality in a lot of cases. So I always look at it, it takes personalized service. It takes individual attention, just like our advisors provide their clients on a day in and day out basis. It's impossible to come up with a comprehensive, complex financial plan without spending the time, the effort, and having that personal interaction to make sure it's a decent fit.
Yeah, and David, you bring up a good point because, and I would say, and you guys tell me if I'm wrong, that not all third-party recruiting firms like Trusted Visions take the same approach, and that's okay. And it's okay, we talked about this a couple weeks ago, of put your list of questions and interview third-party recruiting firms from the perspective of how involved are you in the process of me finding a new broker-dealer? And more importantly, how many broker-dealers are you introducing me to? Because we do it a lot differently we try and introduce you to not more than 2 to 4 broker-dealers. Now, we have more relationships, but we try to not introduce you to more than 2 to 4 broker-dealers. And that's by design from the perspective of if we're introducing you to more broker-dealers than that, we haven't done our job as consultants to listen to your needs and your vision. And the reason we limit the number of broker-dealers that we introduce you to is, let's say you go and you're introduced to 10 broker-dealers. Well, that's at least 20 days out of your business just to go in for a home office visit for each of them. That doesn't include the technology demos, the leadership introductory calls, the calls with the recruiters, the calls with the transition teams. So we try and limit those number of broker dealers for that purpose of, we want you to be able to continue to focus on your clients. So great point, David. Deb, I'm going to hand this one over to you because I would say, not discounting any of us on the team, but you are phenomenal of providing that personalized approach with clients. And you've done it over your entire career of nearly 3 decades. But talk a little bit about, your thoughts from a personalized standpoint of working with a firm like Trusted Visions versus, like David said, just completing a profile and sending it out to how many ever broker dealers.
Well, thanks, Jeremy. And, first of all, you both so far have covered, quite a bit, and a lot of the issues that I think that is a lot of the reason why we all decided to come to the table, to go out on our own, and to be able to offer our services, right, to advisors out there, where we can really truly act as, for lack of a better or a better word this morning, they're fiduciary, right? So really act as their go-to person that's going to guide them to the best firm, in an open architect, right? Not just be tied to one firm, be able to find that best fit for them. And, I was taken back. I read an article not too long ago, and it literally walked, because I have 3 decades here in this industry. So I was going to say senior season, whichever word you want to use for me, whatever. Didn't even admit that. But, and it really took me back to 30 years ago when we started, when I started in this business, and where we've come, right, over those years, and evolving to a lot more technology, which I'm going to be quite honest with you, I do not. I'm an old dog, and I don't want to learn new tricks. So I can't even begin to tell you, and people that I've worked with, how long it took me to get rid of paper, right, and go to the CRM system, and how hard I fought it. And so where we're at now with the automation, it is, we do what we do. And again, you already said it, and I'm just putting a different spin probably on this topic, as everyone's going to do. It is about a connection. We got into this business to build a relationship. I cannot build a relationship while I'm filling out a questionnaire on a computer. Yep. I can't look at that person that I'm asking a question to, and something else trigger in my mind that goes, maybe I ought to ask them about this, or they say something about a firm or what their business looks like, and it's not going to trigger something that's going to take me to another question, right? And a questionnaire or a computer, a robo, I love when the robo advisors come out. When that happens, they can't foresee things that, as an individual, as my sitting down with an advisor and talking to them and asking them about what they're looking for. Why are they looking at making a change, or what are they not happy with their existing firm? I mean, we all know the rabbit holes that we can go down. One question triggers another one. I am sorry. I think technology is great. And David's our technology guru, and I'm lucky. I mean, if I can get my computer on in the morning, all is good in the world. But if I'm asking something, and again, I'm having a conversation, you can't have a conversation, with a questionnaire. So it is about that relationship, and I'll stop there, because, yeah, Jeremy, you're right. I can go on this topic, because it's near and dear to me. And again, we're doing this because we care about our advisors and the relationship that we build. And I'm gonna, until I stop doing this, I'm gonna believe that being able to pick up the phone and call somebody whenever you want to, and to look somebody in the eyes and have a conversation with them, goes a lot farther than automation.
Yeah, and I would bring up 2 points before we hand it over to Shaun. So I'll give you a prime example. I'm talking to a $600,000 plus advisor now that, his comment, we talked through some of the changes his firm has seen, and his comment was to me, yeah, I need to explore my options, but I don't want to be pressured to make a move. And that's the differentiator between those two platforms. Is I can go to those broker dealers that we're introducing them to and say, look, we're going to have an introductory call, but I want you to leave this person alone until we're ready. The second point, and one thing I forgot to mention, was, yes, are there some third-party recruiting firms out there that will send you to whatever broker dealer pays the most? Sure. There are some broker dealers that pay more than others. The industry standard is 3%, and then another 3%, so a totality of 6%. Are there some broker dealers that pay more? Certainly. And there's some third-party recruiting firms that will introduce you to broker dealers that pay them more. It's okay as a financial advisor, OSJ, or enterprise to ask that third-party recruiting firm, are you sending me, are you pushing me towards this broker dealer because you're getting paid more? Another example I would give is I worked with a longstanding, advisor, OSJ, that I've worked with for 20 plus years. And our approach with Trusted Visions, the broker dealer that made the most sense for him and his people and advisors within his group, we made well over 6 figures less by the broker dealer he chose, but we knew that broker dealer was the best fit for him and his advisors. And Deb, you've said this in past podcasts, we will never put our interests ahead of you, your practice, and your client's interests. So I just wanted to make those 2 points. Shaun, your first podcast, we are super excited to have you. You and I have worked together for, I want to say, 10 plus years. We've been with a couple different firms together. You can't get rid of me, so keep trying, but it's not happening. But, I've always respected the success you've had in the industry, but also your approach of you are nonstop, constantly working with advisors, always accessible. So can you talk a little bit about, piggybacking off of what Deb said, but the personalized service, because while we all give personalized service, you do a phenomenal job of, it's not, you've told me this in the past, it's not sales in what we do, it's relationships. So talk a little bit about that if you don't mind.
Sure. And first of all, thank you guys for inviting me to my first podcast. It is a pleasure to be here and discussing this topic. So yes, I've been in the industry for over 18 years. And relationship, as Deb mentioned, is the most important key element of our industry, bar none. And I believe that is the case for the advisors and certainly the case for recruiters. As Deb mentioned, on the front end, you definitely need that relationship to, figure out what the advisor wants, figure out, what their issues are, identify, what firm, they can, certainly plug into to fix those. However, just to take it a step further, and one of the reasons why I stay engaged with an advisor is because from my 18 years of experience, a transition is very tedious. Regardless of the book of business, regardless of the size of the producer, it's a very tedious process, and it is more than transferring accounts. I'll give you a real life example. I can remember working with an OSJ team, a very large, significant OSJ team, that had a third-party money manager relationship, an existing third-party relationship manager relationship that the new broker-dealer did not have. There was an exception made at the new broker-dealer to allow these advisors to continue to maintain their assets with this relationship. Long story short, while this was approved, there were some things that at the home office that did not take place. There wasn't a legal analyst to review this third-party money manager, and we're in the fourth quarter now at this juncture. So therefore, the relationship is so important, and that management of the process is so important because I was able to catch that prior to the advisor transferring. I was able to expedite the process. I actually had to get the president of the broker-dealer involved, but I was able to do that because I was there to manage it. And we successfully added the third-party money manager, and there was no delay for this OSJ team. Had a relationship not been in place, and it was an automation process, as Deb mentioned, then that could have easily slipped through. And now you're looking at a situation where you transfer to a new broker-dealer, and you could miss out on commissions for 30, 60, 90 days until that relationship is approved. So therefore, I feel that on the front end, yes, the relationship is important, but also on the back end, through the transition process, even up to after the transition is successful. Because what I've known in this industry is 18 years later, I'm still speaking with some of those advisors I've worked with years ago. And while they may not need my business today, they refer me to great prospective candidates. So certainly relationships, as Deb mentioned, is very important. And one of the reasons why I joined Trusted Visions is because I can offer that unbiased consultation and manage the process all the way through as I've been doing.
Yeah, and that's a good point. And we talked about this a couple of weeks ago was, again, speaking of trusted visions, not all third-party recruiting firms are made alike, but we are very involved in the transition process where we're communicating with that broker-dealer's transition teams to say, hey, where are we at with, the paperwork? Where are we at with, marketing approvals? Where are we at with this? We're not, once an advisor or OSJ or enterprise works with us, we're not then saying, okay, the transition team's got it, take care of it.
Right.
They're coming to us because the relationship has been built with us and they expect us to be able to handle it. And that's okay. And so when back to interviewing third-party recruiting firms, ask them, how involved are you with me once I've made the decision in going into the transition process? So I think this is a great topic. And again, I wanted to really hit home of the foundation of trusted visions. And I think, I'm sure you guys can attest to the fact the foundation of trusted visions and what we were founded on is one of the many things outside of the relationship I have with each of you that got you to agree, hey, this is a good fit for me career-wise. So with that being said, I appreciate all of you and taking part of this podcast. We look forward to any feedback or comments you may have about the podcast this week. I promise you, next week we will roll into a very interesting and intriguing monthly topic for the month of April. I hope everybody has a happy Easter. Should you have any questions, want to talk to any one of us, please don't hesitate to email us at info@trustedvisions.com. Hope you have a great week and a great Easter.